Tonight's telecast concludes our 5-part series on the Latin Mass. I hope you've enjoyed watching it as much as I've enjoyed doing it. These televised snippets, that's what they are designed to give you a hunger for and a greater awareness of the Latin Mass and its permanent spiritual benefits. A far more exhaustive, I'm sorry, I've got a little cold tonight. A far more exhaustive treatment can be found by dialing into www.forwardboldly.com. And scrolling down, you'll find my picture superimposed on St. Peter's Square, and you'll find 90-minute Catholic topics. I did a 270-minute oral treatment of the Latin Mass on November 16th, November 23rd, and November 30th of 2014. These broadcasts are preserved on this site along with a whole array of others. Yes, I've been at this apostolate a long time. I've learned a lot, and I've seen a lot. We'll start with the canon, the most sacred part of the Latin Mass. It consists of many prayers of great antiquity. Some of the words were used by Jesus himself. Quote, Te igitur, clementissime pater, per Iesum Christum filium tuum Dominum nostrum. Supplices rogamus, ac pedimus, uti acceptia habeas et benedicas, hac dona, hac munera, hac sancta sacrificia illibata. In primis, que tibi offerimus, pro ecclesiae tui sanctae Catholicae, close quote. That last sentence means we offer thee for the Holy Catholic Church. Moderns just forget whose church the Catholic Church really is. The Latin Mass didn't forget. Next, we go to a closing phrase. Et omnibus orthodoxis atque Catholicae et apostolicae fidei culturtoribus, close quote, which states, quote, all Orthodox believers and professors of the Catholic and Apostolic faith, close quote. Hopefully, that's all of us here present. It's the reason that your old warrior uses the correct word orthodox instead of the politically inspired incorrect word traditional. And I learned this when I was 9 years old. That's 71 years ago. Kent wants me to get a rug, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. I'm sorry. We have to have a little fun here. Where was I? Oh, okay. Next is the consecration, wherein the bread is changed into Christ's body and water and wine are changed into his Christ's blood. Now, this is very important. The miracle of transubstantiation occurs here. Brothers and sisters, in every Mass that has been offered throughout the world since the time of Christ and the apostles, every Mass contains the miracle of transubstantiation. That's really important. It's so important that I'm going to give you some citations in the Catechism of the Catholic Church to read a little more about this. This is something, should be mandatory for every Catholic. The citations are items number 1373 through 1377, that's 5, and item number 1413, that's a half a dozen items in the Catechism of the Catholic Church you should check out. You really should check these out. The cluster bells are also rung 3 times at each elevation. Does everybody know why we're rung 3 times? Okay, I'm going to just parenthetically throw this in. Those of you that remember the Latin Mass, or maybe those that attend some right now, when the priest elevates the host, he first genuflects, then that's 1 ring. And then he elevates the host above his head. That's the 2nd ring. He puts the host back on the paten and he genuflects a 3rd time. That's the 3rd ring. The same thing is done with the chalice. So there should be 3 rings to the cluster bells at each elevation. Okay. Next is the Pater Noster, the Lord's Prayer, which I'm trying to make you become familiar with, followed by the communion, where again, the cluster bells are rung 3 times reverently. Now I'm going to go very slow here. All communicants received Holy Communion kneeling at the communion rail. The priest, not an EME, placed the sacred host on each tongue. So much reverence and so much respect were removed by the errors of Vatican II. Think about that. The priest intoned Dominum non sum dignus. The old people in the audience know what these words mean. They heard them with their eyes closed and their tongue out at the reception of the Lord. The first 3 words mean, Lord, I am not worthy. Humility, on our knees, in the real presence of Jesus Christ. Although my vocabulary is large, my words are very limited here. Finally, after the communion and the locking of the tabernacle, the priest says some variable short prayers, followed by the final dismissal, where he says, Dominus vobiscum. And the response is, Et cum spiritu tuo, sequentia Patris tibi, Patris et Filii, et Spiritus Sancto. Amen. He is giving the blessing to the congregation, facing them now. Okay. I've made some final notes. First, for high masses, the organ always in back, usually in a loft if the church was that big, sounded at various times. And the choir, also in back, sang. Musicians were not part of the Mass per se. They were there to glorify God, not entertain the congregation. I see all kinds of craziness today with the vernacular masses. All kinds of absolutely crazy things, irreverent things, disrespectful things, right near an altar where transubstantiation, a miracle, occurs. My second note, all music was in a hymnal that was entirely Catholic. If you go to the hymnals in your own parish these days, at least 50% of the hymns have a Protestant origin. How awful is that? That's not being ecumenical, that's being non-Catholic. Third, I don't ever remember a second collection. The collection was taken up at the offertory only. We are giving our gifts to God at the offertory. We're offering them to God. That's when the collection should be taken. And finally, the entire focus was on the holy sacrifice. Distractions were non-existent. If it isn't very obvious to our viewers how much your old warrior misses the Latin Mass, then our pictures are out of focus. Thank you for watching, and God love you. Finis.